Good evening, everybody. It's Wednesday night. I hope you can all hear me. The flipping Velcro has gone on this cushion and I need to fix it. Anyway, hello everybody. Wednesday night, another live stream. I might not bang on too much tonight, but there are a few things. There's quite interesting things to talk about. I'm just going to see who's here. Dan Pudding. Hi, Dan. How are you doing? I will be watching on my... Let me put it up on the screen. I'm forgetting how to use StreamYard. I'll be watching on my phone in the Freelander. I hope that's a newer type Freelander because the early ones weren't very good. We every time I hope it hasn't got the K series engine in it. What type of Freelander have you got, Dan? Sean Oliver. Hi, Sean. How are you doing? Great week. Well, you're probably having a better week than me. I went back to work on Tuesday after the bank holiday. I actually felt like coming back home again. It's like we had a yard full of cars. It was like chaos. And after 2 weeks of just bumming around doing nothing, you kind of sort of like don't want to go back to work. Well, I don't. Right comment. Hello, right comment. I haven't had a Ford in 25 years, ever since it rusted back into the earth from where it came. I'll tell you what, my Mark III Ford Cortina rusted away just before I got rid of it, and it's literally scrap when I got rid of it. I wish I still had that car today. It'd be worth a bloody fortune. Mondo Daft as a brush. Hello. My last Ford Onion was a constant restoration, hence it brought tears to my eyes. Escort with a boot. Do you know what? I will never forget the day. This is going back some time. It was a Mark IV Escort. It had a tow bar on it. And I had to go and rescue one of the taxis, which was a Ford Sierra at the time, on the A1, just outside St Neots. And I wrapped the rope round the tow bar of this Escort and hooked it up to the Sierra. And as I pulled away, I swear to God, the tow bar came clean off the Escort and it was bloody lying in the middle of the bloody A1. It was so rotten, it just ripped it clean off. Do you know what? I always laugh about that now. It wasn't funny at the time because we were in a bit of a predicament, but I always laugh about that now. GGT82, how's it guys going? Excellent. Thank you very much. Hope you're having a good evening as well. Don't forget to crack open a beer. No, I won't. I'll give it about 5 minutes. And then I've got about 2 bottles left. So I'll polish them off tonight. I might not go on for too long tonight because I've been at work for 2 days now and I'm absolutely knackered. It's taken me a while to get back into it. Kevin Ruff, hi Kevin. Great to meet you. Brilliant, Kevin. Kevin Ruff here. If anybody doesn't know, he's from TC Harrison in Peterborough. I'm gonna bring this up. Kevin here he's got a lot of connections with people who own Fords, either classic or modified cars, all kinds of stuff like that. He's got quite a keen interest in it. Steady. He's got a car show at TC Harrison Peterborough, Oxney Road, the big Ford dealership, this Sunday, the 5th of September. He come down yesterday and he gave me a flyer and he had a little chat and everything. I met him for the first time yesterday. He knows an awful lot about Steve's taxis as well. And if I get to speak to him when I go up to, because I'm going to Peterborough on Sunday, and I'm going to have a look around the car show. I'm going to take a little stroll up there. I'm going to wave my camera around, and I'm going to sort of like get as much video of all the cars that are up there. So and then put them on YouTube. So if some of you can't get to go there, I'll take a bit of video and I'll put it on my channel so you can see it all. And if I get to see Kevin up there, I'll have a little word with him. He behind the scenes throughout the years, well, over quite a number of years, he has done a bit of work to do with these taxis, paperwork side, when the new cars are being sold and rolled out. So it's quite interesting stuff to know. So I'll be seeing you at Peterborough if some of you do go up there. I've decided I'm definitely going. I'm not sort of like one to normally go to car shows, but this one's going to be like classic cars, classic Fords, modified Fords. So God only knows what we're going to see up there, but I'm sure it's going to be great. So remember, that's what I've put a link in the description below, so you can go to the web page and you can get the full address of where it is. But anybody in Peterborough will know where Oxney Road is. It's a great big Ford dealership. Anyway, thanks, Kevin. Thanks for coming down yesterday. That was absolutely fantastic. And I hope to see you on Sunday. Come on, come on. I think that this computer is doing a bit bloody on slow-mo. MK Davo, hello, how are you doing? Last week, you briefly touched on tracking. Yes, I did. Let me just turn this bloody... be great if you could elaborate. You said about setting front wheels parallel. Right. Here's my theory. And this is... Well, it's more than a theory. It's pretty gospel, really. If you have all the different cars out there, they all have a specific type of tracking on the front wheels. When we do 4-wheel laser tracking, but you see, some cars you have to set them to towing out. Some you'll set them to towing in. Okay, they're usually quite small limits. But what I tend to find is if you don't know what the tracking is, or in general, like I do with most of our taxis, we just set them to spot on parallel. Because if you're in parallel, the wheels are dead straight, you can't go far wrong. That's all it is. But you should, I mean, if these days, if you've got the internet, and you can look up what the tracking should be for your specific car. The problem is, what I seem to find all the time, I get people come in the garage and they'll say, well, I've been here, there and everywhere. I've had my tracking done, but my tyres are still wearing out. And half the time I'll put their car on my tracking gauges and they're miles out. And some cases, they're supposed to have been done. They haven't even been done. You really need to, when it comes to something like tracking, because the problem with tracking is it's a fine adjustment some of the time. And it's not just setting the front wheels up. You're setting the front wheels up in alignment with the rear wheels. You also want the steering wheel to be sort of like dead straight. Remember in the days of old, if your steering wheel was one spline out, you could unbolt the centre nut, take your wheel off and turn it round and pop it back on. You can't really do that anymore because you've got airbag there. So now you use your tracking nuts and your steering track arms to adjust them both one way to align the steering wheel up. At the same time, sorting your tracking out and getting that bang on. But as a general rule of thumb, if you set your tracking to bang on parallel, you ain't going to be far out. But yeah, I mean, it's like you've got to know somebody who knows what they're doing, because a lot of people, and I see all these fancy tracking equipment in some of these auto centres. They've got all singing, all dancing computer screens, monitors, and all these digits up on the screen. But you have to ask yourself, the people that are doing the tracking, because at the end of the day, tracking is just a manual thing. You manually have to adjust it. are they doing it right? Do they even know how to do it? You've got to sort of like have trust in the guy who's doing the tracking. But and I've lost my place. But yeah, I always go by if I don't know what it should be, I set them to parallel. You won't be far out. Hi, right, Colin. Brian Johnson, hello. Had a Fiesta with CVT transmission. Belt snapped and broke the casing. Bloody hell. That's not good. Expensive. I would say that probably wrote the car off. We've got it's a Mercedes B class. I've touched on this before. It's got the CVT, and there was something wrong with it. It kept throwing it into limp mode and bringing up all kinds of lights and on the dash. And I come to the conclusion there was something badly wrong inside the gearbox. So I took, and these B class Mercedes, the engine gearbox, a whole lot drops out on the subframe, and then you take the engine and gearbox off the subframe. It's a bit of a you really need the right equipment to do this, because it's getting the actual engine and gearbox off the subframe is harder than taking the bloody engine out. It's awkward. Even with a bloody engine crane, it's awkward. But I got the gearbox off and I sent it to a automatic. It was Midland Automatics in Kettering. They're brilliant. The guy there is absolutely brilliant. He stripped it apart. He found the problem. He said it's not a common problem on this. He goes, it's a bit of a strange one. But he fixed it. But it cost about £1,800 to do that repair. Fixed it flawlessly. It's perfect. But it's like I say, them CVTs, I guess they're okay when they're all right. But if they do go wrong, you're looking at a whopping great big bill. It's not like an old manual gearbox. You can just sort of like get another one from the breaker's yard. These things, you won't find a good second-hand one. That's the only trouble with them. Mondo? Yeah, back to work tomorrow after 10 days quarantine and feeling fine and COVID-free. Cannot wait. I'll tell you something. If I was locked up in this house for 10 days, I'd be climbing the bloody walls. I think I'd be dying to go back to work. Honza. I'll just say Honza. I can't even say your surname. Good evening to you. Thank you very much. Steve. Hello. Thanks for all the emails. I have put a link down below. Number one for your radio control Red Arrows jet planes. That was quite. I've never actually seen them. If anyone wants to see it, it's a video below. You've probably seen them before, but they're like big radio control jet planes, and they flipping sound like jet planes as well. But I did like it when they both landed, and one of them sort of like that. The wing caught fire, the bit under the wing. I think it was the bit that blows out all the coloured smoke. But yeah, I'd be frick bloody flying one of them things. Can you imagine if you crash that? They must cost an absolute fortune. Oh, and I also I did go to what's the name of it again? That your Duke Nukem, the newer one. It looks just like. Am I wrong here or something? But it looks like the original game, like a remake of it. What was funny was the cheesy little comments he says in it. It's sort of like it's funny. I just missed somebody. 1 minute. Graham L. Hi, Graham. My Mark 6 diesel Fiesta has an electric power steering pump. The fluid is dark green and black. What's the best way to change the fluid? I've not changed the fluid in one of them, so I'm not sure. You could, I mean, if it's got a cap, I'm not if it's the same as a Mondeo Mark IV, where they've got a reservoir on top of the pump, and you can take a cap off it to top it up. You can probably get a one of them suction pumps in there and suck the fluid out and pour some new in. But there must be a pipe somewhere that you can undo for it to drain out. It's not going to be easy getting the fluid out of the entire steering system. Or if it's just in the pump, then I'd have to look that one up, to be honest with you, because a lot of these things, there'll be a certain way of doing it, but it's not like a power steering system we've got, because all the cars we deal with now are bloody fully electric. But even our Mark IV Mondeos, which do have fluid in a power steering pump, we've never had to change the fluid. So, and if we have had an engine out, we just unbolt the pipes on the steering rack and let it all pour out. Right comment, is that the same John Ruff? No. No. It's not John Ruff, it's Kevin Ruff. Kevin Ruff. Is that who you're referring to? The guy from TC Harrison, Peterborough. Anyway, Andy Ray 93. Hello, Andy. Hope you're good. God, tell me about it. I've had a few old Fords down the years. The cars just want to return to earth. My job was to stop that process. Do you know what? When I think back I'm going back some years, I bought 2 brand spanking new front wings for my Mark III Cortina. I had them like Tetra sealed inside, and I had the wings sprayed all properly. And they were done properly because they were done at Marshall's. They were done with primer, base coat, lacquer on top. Within a space of like 18 months, there was rust coming through. I couldn't believe it. They must have been using some bad metal in them days. But there again, when you think about it, you look at the old Austin Maestros and Montegos. Flipping heck, they were rotting out when they're still in their hadn't even reached 3 years old, and them cars are rotting out. Dan Hutton, hello. Ford Tornado Custom 2015. That's funny. I'm working on something like that right now. Left-hand side, heated window, not working. Fuse and relays okay. Wiring looks okay. Any ideas? Similar issue with left-hand heated seat. I would, to be honest with you, what I would do, I know that the most heated windscreens, they'll have left and right, and there'll be a separate fuse for each side. I would switch the windscreen on, and I'd get my test light, and I would check that you've got a live at the plug connector going to the screen. Because it could, if it's the screen, it could just be where the wires join onto the screen that the problem is. But I would check for a live first at the screen. I'll just go over that again in case I've missed anything. Left-hand side, heated window not working. Fuse and relays okay. Wiring looks okay. Yeah, the wiring might look okay, but remember when the wire, there's 2 wires. There's each side of your windscreen, there will be like a plug connector probably. And that plug connector, there'll be an earth and a live off that plug connector go to your screen, either side. You need to check the live on that side of the screen is actually live. If it is live, then your screen's dud that side. If it's not live, then you've got to kind of work your way back and see what's going on. Oh, I've lost my space again. Dan, and the dreaded wiring loom issue in driver's door. If heated mirror, 5-amp fuse is blown, window won't work. Yeah, well, yeah, we haven't had that for a while now, but it's cheap wiring. You'll notice how all the wires in that door, they're all black, and only at the very end of the wiring loom there'll be like a little paint dash of some other colour. It's horrible to try and work out. But generally speaking, if you see half a dozen wires broken in the door, it's sort of like, just get a new wiring loom. It's a whole lot easier. Mondo, it's 5 minutes now. Get that beer cracked open. Yes, thank you. I'll tell you what, my bloody voice is going. Let's get the bloody beer going. 1 minute. There. Cheers. I might actually be able to speak a bit better now. My Passat was terrible for rear tyre wear. Never again. What do you mean by rear tyre wear? Was it wearing evenly or was it wearing irregularly? Sean, how much does a full service cost for my diesel Focus ST at your garage? If it was like the basic service is £96 all in. That's like a full inspection of the car, all your levels, tyre pressures, and an oil and filter change. That's £96. Whatever I should say, there isn't much else to do, really. You've got an air filter and a fuel filter. So, depending what the price of the parts would be, whether you use aftermarket or proper genuine Ford bits, you're probably, for a full service, I don't know what the price of a fuel filter is, but you wouldn't be any more than £200 at the most, at the very most. Because like I say, most of these modern cars, there isn't a hell of a lot to do. It's like oil and filter is the main one, air filter if it needs it, and a fuel filter, and well, maybe a pollen filter. But generally speaking, pollen filters can last a long time. I think people change a lot of these pollen filters prematurely. Because in the cars we've got, I mean, normally you can tell when a pollen filter is completely knackered because you won't be getting no air through to your windscreen and your screen will be steaming up. But if it gets to that kind of stage, you'd have had to do like 150,000 miles plus, I would have thought. Are you telling me that tyre place near Halfords are junk? Tyre place near Halfords. Is that in Huntingdon? Where are you talking about? There isn't a tyre place near Halfords that I know of. Mind you, I wouldn't know because I don't use tyre places. We get our own tyres. We do our own tyres. Believe it or not, we've got a tyre machine and balancer and all that up the sales garage. So we do all our own taxi cars ourselves and anyone else, come to think of it. In fact, the only cars we don't really go near are run flats or really low profile with some flashy alleys because our machine, it does the bulk of the work. But somebody's lost all the bloody wheel protectors and God knows what you'd need in some of these like really nice alley wheels. So, but no, I don't tend to use other tyre places to get any tyres done. Luke, hi Luke. I'm doing a service on my Mark 7 Fiesta. Is the fuel filter in the lines or in the tank? It's probably in the tank, and it's probably what's called a lifetime filter, which means you ain't got to worry about it. Forget about it and move on. It's one you just don't change. Alan Wardle, hello, how are you doing? Scunthorpe, yeah, excellent. Well, look, I'm losing my voice tonight. That's what you get for 2 days back at work after 2 weeks off. I'll tell you what though, hang on a minute. I'm hoping this beer will cure it. Can somebody tell me this, right? Focus on that beer bottle. Can you see the headlight of a red Ford Mondeo in that beer bottle? Can you see that? Because that, if anyone can see that, that is a car on the banner of my YouTube channel. And for some reason, using this camera, and this is a green bottle. There's no green screen here, not at all. But this is a green bottle, and I reckon there's something going on with the software that's going on here with this StreamYard and everything. It's bizarre. It's like, what the heck? Right, what's next? Paul Bond, hi Paul. I find these 20 MOTs to be a catch. I put my car in and it failed. I took it to another garage and paid £40 and it passed without any advisories. The problem is, once again, it all comes down to who do you trust. A lot of garages, they have to make their money, generally speaking, through MOT repairs. And it all depends on the guy as well, whoever the tester is. If you can take one car and you can take it to 5 or 6 MOT stations, and it will come out with different faults on every single station, because it all depends who's testing it. Some people will miss things. Some people were sharp as God knows what, and they'll find everything that's wrong with it. Some people are more relaxed and will advise stuff. It's just, no matter how much or how good they write their MOT testing manual, it will always inevitably come down to the guy doing the test. So it all comes down to, most people find themselves a mechanic at the local garage. They'll trust them and they'll go with that. If you don't know no one you can trust, then you could find yourself getting ripped off. All depends where you go. How much is an actual MOT garage cost? How much is an actual MOT garage cost? It's still about £2.50. Then they charge whatever. You've lost me. Do you mean the actual price of an MOT? Because they're about 55 quid, something like that. I know on an MOT you can there's on a class 4 there's a set price. Say it's £55. You can charge the maximum amount. You can't put VAT on an MOT. There's no VAT there, but you can charge anything you like below. You can do them for nothing if you like. Those jets do cost a fortune. They had a mid-air. Oh, I can imagine. I didn't look into how much them jets cost, but you can kind of guess that they're very expensive. They sound good though. I watched that whole video. That was. I know there's lots of enthusiasts out there for radio control cars and planes and God knows what. But it's not. Once again, it's something that I don't tend to watch. But they were interesting. It would have been better if there were more of them though. like 6 or 7, like the Red Arrows in doing all their formation. But there again, radio control with that many planes, God only knows what can go wrong. Vin Paraffin, hello. We had some wall tiling done once. It was so bad you could climb the walls. So you called a tile around to fix some tiles, and you wish you hadn't bothered. There are some people out there that actually think they're doing a good job. Honestly, they're in denial, and yet the whole world is looking at them and like shaking their head. It's like, E-Duke 32 is a high-res version. Yeah, that's what I thought, because I watched it again and I thought, well, it's the same game as the first one. I can't remember what he says though. There was one little catchphrase he comes out with. I mean, as this guy. By the way, I used to call these like hand of a gun. This is like a first-person shooter, is what they are. I always preferred the third-person view. That's why I always like the Grand Theft Auto, Silent Hill, Resident Evil, and stuff like that. But do you know what? There was only one first-person shooter that I really liked and got on with, and I really got into it, and that was a game called Fear, F-E-A-R. That was like lots of like nothing happening, then all of a sudden there'd be all sorts happening around you. It was, but yeah, they do though that this high res remastering it, they call it, don't they? There's another game that springs to mind when it comes to remastering, because that seems to be the thing these days. Because that game was like the early 1990s. They've now brought it back. All these years later, they've got to make the quality better, haven't they? It's the same as Ico and Shadow of the Colossus. Not Shadow of the Colossus, but the Ico game, which was quite an old one. They remastered that. Then they brought Shadow of the Colossus in, where we got to climb them huge bloody beasts, which was rather good, actually. But yeah, I've never played that E-Duke or any of them games. That was before I even played any games at all, really. I think some of the first games I ever played was on the PlayStation 2, and that was around about the year 2000. And one of the last ones I played was like Infamous and Dead Space. But I haven't played any games for bloody years now. I've been making videos instead of playing games. I just sort of like lost interest. But yeah, who knows? One day I might get it. Pat Kelly, hi Pat. I'm keeping okay. 2 days back at work, and I feel like I need another 2 weeks off. Those Red Arrow jets will be at Weston Park International Air Show this weekend along the A5 from Birmingham. I should have put the link in the description, shouldn't I? But yeah, that Weston Park, I know you sent me the link to that Weston Park, that big manor, garden, big place. I guess there's lots to do and lots to see there. If anyone wants to check out Weston Park, then they've got that air show going on there with all the radio control jets and planes and pyro jets or whatever they're called, gliders, fireworks display, all sorts going on there. I won't be there, unfortunately for me, because I'm going to Peterborough. I'm going to the car show. I'm going to have a look at some old Fords and some souped up Fords, hopefully. James Harvey, hi James. I was in St Neots Station today and thought of you. Was that St Neots train station? That's because if it's the train station, I don't think that train station's ever seen a bloody. Well, the last time I was there, it hasn't changed in a lot of years. Bloody hell, it's been a long. I actually lived in St Neots, going back. When was it? About 2007, 2008. I lived in St Neots, Russell Lane, and then I moved to St Ives, then to Witten Camp, and then 2009 I was back in Huntingdon. Mondo, did you see the Anglia Classic Car Auction at the weekend live stream? Lots of money for so-called classic cars. No, I didn't. Johan Vermeulen, hello. What makes a manual gearbox hard to shift when cold, then normal when warmed up? 1 second, especially when cold, had to wait for revs to come down before shifting. Well, it could be a combination of things. Yeah. Generally speaking, I would probably say your clutch plate is sticking on your splines in your gearbox, and you probably need a new clutch. You could go for an oil change in the gearbox, and it could be worn selector problem and dicking around when it's cold. Some people have said they have difficulty with like first gear and all that when their vehicle's cold, and they've changed the gearbox oil and it's cured it. In most of my cases, it's been the clutch plate. They when they get old, they get a bit, especially if the splines in the gearbox that the clutch plate sits on is dry and getting rusty and not very good. The plate can't move in it very well, and that can cause you issues. Andy Ray, hi Andy. The dreaded new E10 petrol is rolled out across the UK. What's your opinion on the fuel? Do you think the ethanol will cause damage down the line? Well, it will probably be okay for most pretty newish cars, but a lot of cars, if you get anything like before 2010, you could be having running issues. Might not run very well. I've heard that it doesn't work on generators and lawnmowers and stuff like that. So, or it's not going to run very well in them. No, it's just more bloody watered down. Whatever it is, it's not going to be very good. Not going to be very good at all. You seem to notice that they're trying to phase out petrol and diesel. So it's just an excuse to kill off a load of cars, isn't it? James Bagnall. Hi, James. That's just reminded me of my dad's first ever brand new car when I was a kid. 1980 Ford Cortina. Started to rust by year one, and front scuttle had rusted through for flipping heck. Yeah, the Cortinas weren't very good. My God, did they rust? Flipping heck. What was that? Was that a Mark IV or a Mark V? 1980. I can't remember. It's either a Mark IV or a Mark V Cortina. I think there is a lot to say about low-cost supermarket fuel on diesels. Don't think E10 will affect Joe Public. Only car enthusiasts will worry. Well, the problem is, it's just going to cost you more, isn't it? You're going to have to go to the super unleaded, which is a lot more money to buy. So, unless you've got plenty of money to burn, then don't worry about it too much. £96 sounds great value for money. We do use the proper, I mean, this is the proper Ford oil. We have the 030 and the 530. We buy them in like 200 litre drums. We only use the two types of oil. We have got a tank of splodge we use for any old crap, but it will be the proper oil. And the car will get a good going over anyway, make sure everything's okay in it. But yeah, if you want it done, then want to come down, feel free. We'll get the kettle on for you while you wait. Do you think remolds will ever come back into fashion? I doubt it. Not if a DVLA's got anything to do with it. For the price difference, as the global rubber shortage will probably bite in 2022. I will say though, I had a Morris Marina once, and it had a remold on it, and that remold lasted longer than all the other tyres put together. It was a good remold. Flipping it, I didn't think it was ever going to wear out. Siad, hello, how are you doing? The party started. I've got the beer out already. Although I keep coming back to this because there's something. Can you see the red taxi in that beer bottle? There's something not going on here. Marcus, yes. Are you saying yes? You can see the taxi in the beer bottle. Look, there's even a bloody registration number. Oh my God! Bottle acting as a prism. I don't know. It's doing something. What I don't understand is this didn't happen using my webcam. By the way, anyone doesn't know, because my webcam was a piece of shit and it was playing up and making everything blown out, I took the chance to I'm now using a DSLR as a webcam. So it's a Canon 80D. I've connected it directly to the computer with a lead and using Canon's own software for live streaming, which means I haven't got to spend £100 on a cam link to connect the camera to the computer. So this bit of Canon software, which was free, is brilliant. I'm using this Yeti microphone, which is hopefully pairing up with the camera because the audio on the camera isn't being transferred through to the computer. So, but I don't understand why this green bottle is showing the banner of my YouTube channel that I can't even see on the screen, and it's coming up, it's showing up it through the beer bottle. It's bizarre. Oh, William McGowan. Hi, William. Yes, I can see it. I could play around all night like this. That red Mondeo. Where is it? That's in that bottle. Yeah. On my YouTube channel, the banner, there's all them taxis. It's one of them. And I can't understand. I can't get my head around it. Anyway, Graham. Hi, Graham. With the Volkswagen Passat rear tyre wear change near rear shocks for new shocks, OEM's best sashes, wear issue can be solved with this inner wear. Works on Golfs, 100,000 miles Passat similar. Yeah, well, it's knowing these things, isn't it? It's sort of like you have to do some research to find out answers like that. But once you know, then you can sort it out, can't you? Roadkill 7878. How many of those have you had? This is the first one, and I've only got one more. I'm going to have to go to Tesco's and give them some more blood. Well, I always feel like I've been ripped off when I go to Tesco's. But I like that Beck's beer. So I've got one more bottle to do down tonight after that one. And then I'm going to have to go and get some more because I've run out. But I don't ever get pissed to the point where I'm pissed really badly. Because I have been pissed before. This was some year, I'm telling you, it was the Music Box in St Ives, which is just like 5 miles away from here. I got so badly bladdered, it was unbelievable. I literally, my mate held me by my bloody, as we were leaving, he held me by my collar, or I would have fallen down this flight of stairs. I vomited all down these bloody stairs. He more or less dragged me out of the place, and we sat outside this little fast food place. And I swear to God, I could not see more than 5 feet away from me. It was just a blur. And when I got home, I just lay on the floor, and the floor was literally moving beneath me. And after that, I never ever got drunk again. Not to that kind of point. I like getting a bit tipsy, but not bladdered like that. I didn't actually like it. Wayne, hi Wayne. You've inspired me to do all my pre-MOT work. I did drop links, rear anti-roll bar bushes, neck service and wishbone. Oh, so you're not like me then? Just let it all fall to pieces, like my van. But you're right. The problem is, if you don't keep on top of things, they'll just build up and up and up until it becomes a bloody restoration job. So it is best to, even if you've got to force yourself when things go wrong, to tackle them as and when. Don't let things get too bad. Roadkill. I took a motorbike for an MOT, and the guy asked me the mileage and wrote the ticket. Obviously, before modern those rules. Yeah, well, I guess for some people doing that, it's just easy money, isn't it? They probably think no one's going to be watching them doing their motorbikes. It's just like, here you go. Where's the money? I've had guys from DVLA or DVSA in before, and they tell me some of the stories that they've seen. And some of them are quite good. One day I'll probably go through a few. Pete Mechanic. Hi, Pete. How come Monica is at car sales depot? She's been at car sales for a while. It's a case of there's 2 sites, and you've got to have staff running both sites. And in Monica's case, she knows her stuff, so it's where she's needed most. She actually comes down to the MOT garage where I am from time to time, because she does specific amounts of work there. So she gets moved around a bit. But most of the time she's at the car sales, it's because there is nobody else there. There's nobody there who can do the job she's doing. So that's why. But it's like revolving round. Gralex, hello. Did I miss you talking about the Ford show on Sunday in Peterborough? You probably did. I'm going. I'm definitely going. Kevin come down the garage the other day, and he spoke to me. We'd never met, but he came in and said hello, and he goes, "This is who I am. I'm at TC Harrison, Peterborough, Oxney Road." And he said, I've organised, he's organising it all. He's organised this car show. And he said, "Do you want to come along?" And I thought, yeah, I'll see if I'm free. I'm free. I'm going. I haven't been to a car show in I don't know how long. So I'm actually quite looking forward to it. So I'm going to go up there, see what's what, see what cars are up there. It's like 5th of September, 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock. So should be fun. There's refreshments. There's apparently so anyone wants to come up there, have a walk around, just for something to do, just for something to see. It'd be pretty cool, I reckon. Jack Simpson, hi Jack. They often get a bad rep, but I love my Saphira B. What's your thoughts on them? I'm not keen on Saphiras, to be honest. I know that some of them, I mean, it's not a car I would have, but if you've got like a family and you've got kids, I think that the early ones, I didn't like the look of them, but the later ones, especially if you've got a body kit on them, they're not too bad looking. But I think they're more for like families, so you can fit more people in them. Not my cup of tea though, but it's, once again, everybody sees vehicles different. It's like I used to love my Ford Scorpio, and everybody thought it was ugly, but I didn't. I thought it was beautiful. It was called the fugly car. But yeah, I've never been a fan of Saphiras, but it's each to their own. If it's the car you like and it's nice to you, then that's all that really matters at the end. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. Hi Matt, how are you doing? How's your week going? I'm going to be down your way on Friday. I'll call in for... Oh, brilliant. Okay. The kettle never gets cold, by the way. Yeah, that'd be great. Great to see you. Pop in. Tea or coffee, milk, sugar, 10 sugars. Thanks for stopping by, Matt. Mark, Nusita. Hi, Mark. Mark 4 Mondeo, new tyres, January 21, done 6,500 miles. Next and wearing on outside on both front tyres, tracking done. Why is it wearing roundabouts? Why is it wearing roundabouts? Maybe what's your view? On outside on both front tyres. Well, that's not going roundabouts. If the outer edges on both front tyres are wearing evenly more than the rest of the tyres, generally speaking, you would say it's towing in too much. I would say your tracking's still wrong. Because if you were going round like left-hand corner, I would have thought you'd have had the outside of one tyre and the inside of the other wearing. But if it's both inside edges or both outside edges, it's a tracking issue. It's either the wheels are either towing out too much or towing in too much. But I'll be honest with you, I have got freaking very, very. My standards when I think of people doing tracking is like on the floor. There isn't many people out there that I would have any faith in tracking a car up. I reckon they just look at their stupid computer screens and see all these numbers, and they try and bullshit the customer and say, look at all these digits. Yeah, that's perfect. That's within spec, that is. They don't even know what they're freaking looking at. And they just charge you for it. Easy money. They haven't even got to adjust it. I bet if they had to get a car in and put it on a bloody proper old school tracking gauges and actually set the tracking properly, They wouldn't have a clue what to do. But that's the way everything's going these days. You know, the gauges we've got, they are four-wheel laser tracking alignment, which they're very old now. Although four-wheel laser alignment was a big thing when it came out. It's not any. This isn't. I mean, I still remember the days we had the optical one where you look through. But even them things would do the job better than all these computerized ones. Because I keep saying this, no matter how many computer systems or software they've got on all their bullshit tracking gauges, it comes down to the flipping guy who's literally got to do the manual tracking on the car. It's no good looking at all them numbers. They've got to actually adjust it properly. No, they don't seem to understand that. You've got to adjust the car, not look at your stupid computer screen. That's why I like the old gauges. And in the past, we used to learn how to do things, not just look at a computer screen. You've got to find somebody who knows what they're doing, who knows how to do tracking. Because if you don't, you're just going to get ripped off. Roadkill, you're an inspiration for birth control. Michael W, how are you doing? Do you think if your shocks have started misting, they are starting to fail? Might have a warranty claim, but I think they might say it's normal. No, they shouldn't be misting at all. If it's misting, then they're starting to leak. You'll tend. I've seen loads of shock absorbers. They'll get a bit of like fine oil spray mist around them. They shouldn't be doing that. It's not normal. They won't get no better. They'll eventually leak. So if you're going to get a warranty claim, then you better do it quick. Michael Jordan. Hi, Michael. My 2006 S-Max run for 5 minutes at a cooling temperature of 105 to 110. Is there a chance that my head gasket is blown? Is there a chance that my thermostat got any damage? What engine have you got in that? Because there's some engines that I would say pretty flaky when it comes to overheating, and there are other engines that, I mean, that's not really high. Because generally speaking, you can have a pretty high temperature in some of these cooling systems, and it's not going to do much damage. I know on the 2-litre diesels in these taxis we've got, the Mondeos, my God, we have that these engines can practically run without water for prolonged periods. They've done it so many times when we've had thermostat housings where the top hose case of the thermostat breaks off and the entire cooling system is like gone within a space of 20 seconds, and they'll still drive them like 10 miles with no coolant in them, and they're fine. Head gaskets on a lot of diesels these days they're improved so well. The trouble is, to get 110 degrees isn't that bad. That's not really that high. You'd have to get it pretty hot, pretty damn hot, to warp the head to the point where it's going to do head gasketing. So there's a good chance you'll be okay. But I mean, the thing to do is fill it up with water and run it. If you get all the air bled out of it and you leave the cap off while you're running it and set your heaters to hot, you'll soon know if it's going to overheat or not. And there are, if you know someone who's got you can put this fluid on top of your cooling system bottle, and the fluid turns from like yellow to green or something like that, then you know the head gasket's gone. It picks up the gases in the water. But I'll just run it. I'll just fill it with water and run it. And if it doesn't bubble up or try and overflow and all stuff like that, then you're pretty much okay. And if you think you're okay, when the whole system's bled through and your heaters are hot, drive it up the road for 10 miles and back, and then slowly undo the cap, or even push your hands on, squeeze the top radiator hose. There shouldn't be pressure in it. Some cars build up a little bit of pressure, but it shouldn't be that much. If a head gasket's blown, especially on a diesel, the top hose will be like a piece of steel. You won't be able to squash it in with your hand. But if you know a mechanic who knows what he's talking about, he'll soon show you. Emmy, what was your view on the Pinto engine, apart from the oil feed to end lobe blocking and causing rattly cam? Hope you're good and enjoyed your playing at Robin Hood with kids. Yeah, and friend Bill. I loved the Pinto engine. I thought they were great. I still have the crow's foot spanners to adjust the tappets on them. Bloody hell, we had a whole. I mean, apart from my Cortina, my Mark III Cortina had a Pinto engine in it, and plus in my Cortina, I got an engine. It was a 2.2. It had a balanced and lightened flywheel and crankshaft in it. If you put it in fourth gear, I had a 4-speed gearbox, but if you put it in fourth gear at 30 miles an hour, it'd conk out. You had to get out on the straight. But boy, did that go, until it blew up, of course. that went up in a ball of smoke. But no, I love the Pintos. I thought they were very good engines. And a lot of the taxis used to have, the Sierras and Granadas, if you had a good Pinto engine, they ran ever so nice. They were lovely engines. And there were things you could do with them, especially in modifying them. You could put like twin DCOE carburetors on them. Oh my God. Yeah. But yes, I did have many camshafts worn out. There's a bloody that oil sprayer bar used to block, didn't it, at the top? But that was generally down to like bad oil changes. And they're sort of like been abused. But yeah, they were a nice engine. Michael Jordan, I changed coolant. New coolant stays in level. I am not missing any coolant. My coolant gauge is not reaching 90. It's around 80 after coolant change. I changed coolant. My new coolant stays in level. I'm not missing any coolant. My coolant gauge is not reaching 90. It is around 80 after coolant change. Well, everything there sounds normal, doesn't it? Do you know why it got hot in the first place? Because going by that, the thermostats are designed to sort of like keep everything around about 90 degrees, which is around about where the center of your coolant gauge is. But it's by reading that, it sounds like everything's fine. It might take a little bit of time to sort of like adjust, because sometimes when you change coolant, you can still have a bit of air bubbles in the water. And after you've run it a bit, then it'll eventually settle itself down. Paul Flanagan. Hi, Paul. What's the plans for Steve Taxis and we move into the questionable electric area? What's going to happen to all the batteries after around 10 years? Bottom of the sea, I guess. I'm not a fan of the electric cars. The more I think about them, the more I can't see them catching on. I just can't see it. I think the internal combustion engine is the way to carry on. And the trouble is, it's like everything. All this climate change and all this scaremongering over it, the more you go into it, the more lies you kind of expose. And you find that I don't know why they're pushing this agenda, because somebody's making money out of it. and it's certainly in us. But can you imagine it? If I go right now, if I go down to Sainsbury's supermarket, there's like 4 electric charging points, and I'm thinking, can you imagine if everybody had an electric car? It wouldn't work. You'd have to have thousands and thousands of charging points. And it's fossil fuels that are bringing the electric in the first place. So it all defeats itself. And as for all them batteries, it's like, you're right. They sell a brand new electric car, which is going to be great for a little while, especially for people who are just driving around town. I mean, that's the one place I would say that electric cars are pretty useful. If you want to drive around town, commute here and there, short distances, it's going to be great. But after so long, when these batteries die, what do you do with them? You can't just dig a hole, can you? I mean, these are sort of like dangerous things. You can't just bury a bloody battery. They have to be sort of like disposed of properly. So it's going to cause an environmental problem later on, just getting rid of all these batteries. And it's not just that. It's all the people that are going to be getting these cars second and third hand down the road and start tinkering with them. You can imagine all the problems they're going to cause. They're going to be bloody cars going up in fire. People working on them that don't know what they're doing. I don't like them. I think they're quite dangerous. John, hi John. Mark 5, 1980. All right. Mark 5 Cortina. I never had a Mark 5 Cortina, but they were not. I reckon they were nice cars. I knew someone who did have one. If you still had that car today, that'd be worth a lot of money. Who would have ever seen it? All them old Ford Capris and all that. What they're worth now. John Vermeulen, 1979 was last Mark IV Cortina. 1979. Flipping heck, what year was mine? Mine Mark III was a 76, I think. I think it's 1976. Or was it a 75? I can't remember now. Flipping heck, it's going back. But yeah, 1979. Bloody hell. Deschultz, long time with no vids of fixing things. No, there is. I would be bringing some out shortly. There's one I could have done, which I'm doing now, but it's like I just haven't got the time to do it. I've got a 2017 Transit Custom 2-litre diesel. It's second gear synchro. As soon as you put it in second gear and touch the throttle, it just flies the gear lever back out. And we got the gearbox out, and it's basically the same as a Mondeo gearbox. They're all pretty much the same anyway. But second gear synchro and the gear, the little gear bits on the second gear that the synchro dogs into, they're gone. They're just stripped clean off. So I'm doing that at the minute. I want to do a gearbox one, but it's like I just haven't got the time because there's so many other things going on. I will be doing some videos shortly, as soon as I sort of like get the time, when things quieten down a bit. Matt Giles, hi Matt. Just thought I'd pop by and say thanks for the videos. Help me out with my Mark IV and always make me smile. Well, thank you very much. That's fantastic, Matt. Hopefully I'll get some more banged out shortly. Bill Griffiths, hi Bill. Where do you sell the old taxis? I think the boss just I don't know. he normally I think he's got some people he knows from up north, Newcastle, Birmingham way, up that way. They'll just come down and buy a whole load of them, because he'll normally sell like 10 of them in a go. When you get to a point where a whole batch of cars needs to be sold off, and he buys in a whole new batch, he'll just sell a whole load of them off. But I think he must just advertise them. I don't get involved in the selling of them, but he must put them on the internet somewhere. But I think he's got actual contacts. He knows that people that will come down and have them off him, and they'll just take them away and either sell them or use them as taxis themselves. But I know most of them go up north, past Birmingham that way. Sophia, please tell me what kind of oil to pour into a Duratec 2-litre TDCI. Is it worth after 200,000 instead of 530 to put in 540? I think if it's done 200,000, I wouldn't be bothered putting 540 in it. I don't think there's an option to put that in it. You should stick to 530, but that kind of mileage, then nobody cares. It ain't going to do no harm. I guess it's cheaper for the 540. Yeah, it wouldn't bother me. I'd put 540 in it. I can see 3 red Mondeos. Oh my God. It's like, it doesn't matter where I put the bottle. There, I can still see it. Oh, flip it. Anyway, come on, let's get on. This Beck is too sweet, has corn in it. Yeah. I'll tell you what, this size bottle is quite nice. So I don't drink a lot. I had the one thing beer I couldn't get on with is Stella Artois. I had a case of cans, and they're like quite tall cans. I couldn't even finish a can of that stuff. I just didn't like it. So I got rid of it. I gave it away, and I got this instead. And I thought, I quite like this. But I guess it's everyone to their own liking. Would you recommend buying one? In some cases, I would say yes. Obviously, there's always a couple that aren't going to be great, but most of them, they've all been serviced sort of like up to the hill. Every 10,000 miles, they'll be in and serviced. And some of them that have been sold off, I've actually thought of buying them myself. Never done it though. But you get some of these cars just before they get sold off, they'll have had a brand new clutch and flywheel, full service, brakes all round, discs. God knows only what's been put on them. And of course, because we have written service history for everything that's done. So if anyone wants to buy these cars, they can see the service history. They can read all through it, and it's like wad full of paper for each car. So if you do find a car that's has a shitload of work done to it, you've probably got yourself a good deal. And I don't think they go for that much money. They're probably around about £1,500, maybe a bit more, depends what car it is. That's the Mark IV Mondeos. I'm not exactly sure of the figure. It's something around that figure anyway. But yeah, some of them are a really good buy. And that's why some of these people come down from north and buy them, because they practically need the minimum doing to them because they've been looked after so well. And the body work always gets done whenever they get dented and stuff. Like most of them have had dents in them and prangs. They get fixed. So it's for a lot of people, it's a pretty cheap car that's going to last them quite a few years to come. Good job, not other pics on bottle. What was that? Ili Japo? Hello? Is 2 litre Eco Blue diesel engine with belts in oil any good for Focus Mark IV? Yeah, the 2 litre Eco Blue has got 2 rubber belts that run in oil. Your main cam belt and your oil pump belt. I don't like them. I think they're a bloody stupid idea. They're a horrendous bloody job to change them. I mean, don't get me wrong. If you actually buy the 2 belts and there's 1 tensioner, it looks really like a really simple little kit. But you need to buy, in order to change the belts, if you're doing it yourself, you really do need the proper timing kit to do it. And it's a horrible job. And if you've got to take that engine in whatever vehicle it's in to a garage to have that job done, it will cost you an absolute fortune. And plus, I've heard them belts going before they're due, and I think they're about 140,000 miles they're supposed to be done at. I've heard of them going a lot earlier. So why couldn't they have just stuck a normal cam belt on it? All this messing around. Bloody wet belts. They're flipping. History has shown that wet belts don't work. Just look at the 1.8 TDCIs. Adam Cole. Hi, Adam. How much have I missed tonight? Not much. You probably never miss much. No, just been talking about this, that, and the other. If you've missed anything, the only thing that's important, there is a car show on in Peterborough, TC Harrison main Ford dealership, Oxney Road. I've left the link for the webpage in the description. That's this Sunday between 10 and 2 o'clock. So it's going to be like classic Fords, modified Fords. If you're in the area and you're passing by, it's probably well worth popping in and having a look. I'm going up there for a look around anyway. So that's the big news. Apart from that, I'm just trying to wade my way through the comments section. Waiting for more fixing Mondeo vids. I will. I'll get another one out as soon as I can. Had Mark III and loved it. Yeah, good cars are Mark III. Mazda 6. They're a pretty nice looking car. I guess they're very reliable as well. Adam, last time I got that drunk, I pissed up the bedroom wall. I tell you, it's amazing the things you can do when you get drunk. You just lose all inhibitions, don't you? Nothing matters. You can do anything. It's like, I know the feeling. Watching from New Zealand. Flipping heck. You have inspired me to keep my 2002 Mondeo Gear 2 litre on the road. It's at 260,000 kilometres and purring like a kitten. Well, that's my theory. If you've got a car, this is the way I see it. Because I'm not rich. No, actually, don't listen to me. But the way I see it, if you've got a car that's in good condition, it does what you need it to do, and it's not costing you nothing, then what's not to like? On the other hand, if you've got plenty of money and it doesn't bloody matter, go and buy a nice car. But not all of us have got the money to spend on a nice car. It's like most of us are sort of like we've got to juggle between bills, mortgage, car, and everything else that goes in between, especially these days. So I am dreading, I'm actually literally dreading the point where I've got to change my van. The thing is, I can afford another van, but I don't want to spend the money. I'd rather keep the money. And I'm sort of like attached to my van because I've had it for so long. I bought my van in 2006 and it was 2 years old and I've still got it now. But it's seriously going downhill. So, yeah, if it's doing what you need it to do, spend your money elsewhere or save your money. Or save it up for your dream car in a few years' time. Dean Cruddington. Hi, Dean. Quick question. Mondeo Mark 5 2-litre EcoBoost, auto gearbox. Oh dear. Been told it's a sealed unit and it's got life oil in it. Is this correct? The simple answer to that is I don't know. We don't have any automatics. But if it's anything to go by that some of these BMW gearboxes are, it probably is. It can well be. That's the way they're making them now. They'll say it's got lifetime oil in it and you don't touch it, which I can't quite sort of like get my head around, because oil in any gearbox is going to deteriorate sooner or later. So even these sort of like lifetime gearbox oils, and what's the lifetime gearbox oil? I would say something like 150,000 miles, and then you should change it. It's not going to, the oil is not going to last forever. What is the kind of, what do they call the lifetime of a car? It's just, you know. Yeah, they're probably right what they're saying, that it is lifetime oil in it, but it's like, I'm sure it can be replaced, especially when you've done a lot of miles of it. I've got a strange problem I can't solve, and I can repeat the issue. I get a tyre pressure malfunction on my Titanium Export 2009. It only happens on the same piece of road and only at night after 5 p.m. Don't drive down that piece of road anymore? Who knows? Maybe take a different route and see if the light comes on. If it doesn't come on, then you've fixed it. You know how it is when someone's got a problem with their car, and the moment they take it into a garage, the problem's gone. It's probably a bit like that. Raylene, hello. Mark 5 2-litre 180 horsepower Mondeo. In the last 2 annually technical revisions of the mechanical engineer found a lot of iron filings in the diesel filter. Do you know what could be the issue? Yeah, kinda. It depends. You see, in the fuel filter, if you've got a lot of, when he says iron filings, I guess he's talking about tiny specks of glitter. That would come from the high pressure fuel pump. There's nowhere else it can come from, unless you've got like the electric pump in the tank breaking up. Generally speaking, I tend to find on them Mark 5s, there'll be a couple little specks in the fuel filter. Nothing to worry about. If you get a lot, then chances are it's going to be the high pressure fuel pump, the cam lobe, the chrome comes off it and it gets chipped off and it gets into your fuel system. And it'll go straight into your diesel injectors. And as it gets worse, it will block your diesel injectors up. And it'll also, the amount of fuel getting sent back to the tank will come back through your fuel filter and it will get trapped in the fuel filter housing. But the thing is, you need somebody to actually look at it and to say, that's a problem. Because you can't see 1 or 2 specks and say that's a lot, because it's not. So someone who's sort of like a proper diesel person will know what is a lot and what isn't. But how many miles has your car done? I tend to find on them Mark 5s, generally speaking, the high pressure pumps will go wrong and start putting metal in the fuel system. Usually when they've done well over 150,000 miles, the pumps are pretty good in them cars. They do go wrong, but it's like they normally have to do a lot of miles before they start putting metal in the fuel. Dublin, hello, 087 male. Hello in Dublin. Cooper S, hello. Do you happen to know the correct compression figures for a 1.8 petrol Mondeo, as the results are the same on each cylinder? That's a good thing. If they, I should, 1.8 petrol, you should be looking at, oh my God, anything from, if you're getting around about 200 pounds per square inch in each cylinder, that's good. That's okay. I mean, usually around 175 to 250 or 300, if you're lucky. I doubt you get that high, but if they're all the same, then that's good. Because if you've got a compression problem in one of the cylinders, you're going to have a low compression. But if they're all even, then that means each cylinder is going to be firing correctly, presumably, with the exact same amount of compression in each cylinder. So I wouldn't be too concerned about that. You'd have to let me know what readings you're getting. I would say if you're getting 175 pounds per square inch in each cylinder, anything above 175 is fine. Anything under 150 or getting down to 100, you could have a problem. Because I know a lot of diesel engines, they can be like 400 pounds per square inch in each cylinder. But when the engine gets a bit old, that figure will drop down because they start losing a bit of compression. But let me know what readings you've got. The issue clears the next day within 15 miles of driving too. Warning light goes out. It never happens on any other road. I'll tell you what I would do with that. I would just get my my little handheld thing that tests the valve on each wheel and run around it like that and see if they're all working. Because the problem is that the sensors on the valves, they've each got a battery in them, and you might just have a dud one or one that's iffy. And my little handheld thing, you put it by each wheel and it makes a horn beep. So if one of them's faulty, that might just be the case. It might show it up, but it'd have to sort of like be tested. So you can, if they're all working, there's not a lot you can do. The Vauxhall Superior, the Vauxhall Superior, hideous things. Isaac, I have a problem with rear camera on my Mondeo 2015. It's original, and at last time, little work and little black screen and right visit dealership. It would have to be plugged in. The trouble is all these cameras and stuff like that. It's like in our diagnostic tool, I'm sure there's a you'd have to. There'll be a section you can go into to see if there's any fault codes. It might show something up. If not, it's going to be a case of checking the camera, checking the wiring, and going from there. Sometimes it's just one of these manual things you've got to check, because where the cameras, some of these cameras are bolted, they can get, wires can get broken and God knows what. So you need someone to actually sort of like have a physical look at it first. Mark Beards, hi Mark, how are you doing? Laser tracking was always the best. Yeah, I just find it's once you know how to use it, it's more simplistic. The simpler the better. It's a simple idea, but it works. CPU, hello CPU. The new expensive dynamic ones is a pain. The tracking goes out if you rotate the tyres too accurate. Yeah, mind you, that's another thing. Just pointing that out. When you're doing tracking, you need the front wheels on some turning plates, and I mean, if you haven't got turning plates, you want your front wheels on some very glossy magazines, because you can get flex in the tyres, you see. And this is another problem. You've got to have the suspension checked over first, make sure nothing's worn out. You've got to have your tyre pressures pumped up correctly. And even when you're turning the steering like that, the tyres are flexing. That's why when you're doing the tracking, you have the front wheels on turning plates, or otherwise you can get all kinds of misleading results. And we used to have a pair of, they were like dishes that you could drive. You could drive the wheels onto, and they were so free spinning that they eliminated any flex in the tyres. It's just simple things like that which get overlooked. So if you're having your tracking done and you've got it on like a solid ramp surface, that's no good, because every time you turn the wheel, your tyres are flexing a certain amount, and that can throw your tracking out and give you the wrong results. Anyway, I've said that about 3 times now, so I better shut up about that. Paul, Audi A3 headlight LED matrix. You have to buy a new headlight. Yeah, that sounds about right. How much? What's that? £1,023 plus VAT at TPS. What's that? Trade parts specialist, local Audi garage. Said £1,000. What a rip-off. The funny thing is, everything LED is expensive. I don't know why. Why are LEDs so goddamn expensive? It's like, it's not like they're sort of like anything new anymore, is it? LED's been around for a long time. I could understand it if they just come out, but it's like the flipping backlights on the Mondeos, like £500 for one tail light. It's like ridiculous. Mark, do you remember the 205 1.9? Yes, I do. Do you agree that it was? Yeah. But there again, there weren't much weight to them cars, was there? It's like, yeah. Peugeot 205. I remember that. We had this sort of, someone was saying about the GTIs last week. Yeah. They were quick cars, even with a diesel in it. No, even normal aspirated diesel. They were still quick car, but they were like a little light hatchback. So, yeah, I remember them well. Andy R500, hello. Learned on the old Dunlop gauges and did a course on the Hunter forward alignment a few years back. Awesome bit of kit. But like you say, it's down to the technical technician. Yeah. Yeah, that's what it always comes down to. There's plenty of mechanics out there. And there's good ones, and well, it's like every trade, isn't it? Roadkill. I've got a Vauxhall Zafira B 1600, and I can honestly say it's the worst car I ever owned. It's done 75k. Problem code 171 caused by blocked her channels. Gearbox had to be replaced after. Yeah, I tend to find that, I don't know, Vauxhalls, the quality isn't there that should be there. It's like everything. Everything's cost cutting. I mean, I used to like Vauxhalls of the past, but ever since the Vectra B, I'll tell you what put me off the Vectra B. It wasn't that they were that bad a car. It was that I had to do a clutch once, and the flipping God Almighty, the kit you needed to change a clutch, that the engine and gearbox was bolted to the subframe. So if you wanted to take the subframe off to get the gearbox out, you had to have a special cradle set up above the engine bay to hold the engine up. And it was like flipping heck. It took me, I'll tell you what, after I'd done a clutch on one of them Vectra Bs, I thought, never again. That's why we stuck with the Mondeos in the end, because they were easier to work on. Mark IV 2-litre diesel. Getting into first gear is fine in summer, but a pain in winter. It might be worth just changing the gearbox oil to start with. That's the easiest, simplest way out of it. If that don't do it, you're probably looking at clutch plates sticking on the splines when it's cold. Julian, going back to shock absorbers, Volkswagen Group shocks absorbers do have a gland in them to allow excess pressure out, with the side effect of some fluid out, oil out. So missing them is quite normal. Well, if that's the case, I wonder what would happen if that car went to a MOT station, because you can see what's going to happen. Some MOT testers would see that and they'll just advise it, and other ones would actually fail it. And I'm telling you, I'm telling you something, right? I can tell you now. There was an MOT tester. He failed a pair of rear shock absorbers because they went in and out like that, like they're supposed to. And that was an MOT tester. And I said to him, what do you think shock absorbers are supposed to do? That's what they do. They go in and out. And he failed him for it. I thought, what a twat. How the hell did this guy get an MOT license? But that's the kind of thing you're up against with some people. You take your car to a garage expecting someone to know what they're doing. Be warned. Got a Zafira B, and with only 75k, I had numerous problems with it. Yeah, we haven't really had much in the way of Vauxhalls at our place, so I can't really comment too much myself. If there's anything that springs to mind, I'll let you know. Pinto with twin choke Webers, awesome. Yeah, I bet it was. Yeah, that would be fantastic. There is, now he's changed it now. There's a guy who brings a kit car. I think it's a Tiger Catty or something. He used to have a Pinto engine in it with twin Webers on it. Flipping out was nice, but he's changed that Pinto now for a Z-Tech. And that's a Z-Tech engine with twin. I don't know what the carburetors make is now, but that's got twin carburetors on it. 1.7 diesel, 4.4 of that moved fast. Don't know why. Introduced 1.9. 9 o'clock, I make it 9:39. We're ahead. I actually wasn't going to run too late tonight. I felt like bloody like shit before I even started. But now I'm sort of like going along with this. Is actually okay now. Maybe it was the beer. Can I bring me Mark for tracking? Yes, of course you can. I've had some Mark IVs in that garage. So I was got to shake a leg. I've had some Mark IVs in that garage that the tracking has been absolutely all over the goddamn place. We can sort it out. If it's just a case of straightforward tracking, it's around about £25 plus VAT. I will say the amount of cars we have in, and what makes it a lot more difficult and painstaking is when you get a car in for tracking and it's never been touched and the lock nuts are seized onto the bloody track arms and you've got to clean all the threads up, get all the rust off them, and you've got to put you end up putting like heat on the lock nuts to free them off. And sometimes it can be a right flipping palaver just to get everything free and ready for adjusting. If everything is all free to start with, then it's easy. But generally speaking, I mean, a lot of Mark IV Mondeos, the lock nuts do get seized on. So if that's the case, it would probably be a bit more. But if you want to get it done, then bring it down. I'll do it for you. I will personally do it for you. And I'll give you a talking as we go through it. So by the time you leave that garage, you'll be a bloody expert. Julian, the bottom end of Ford Cosworth engine is actually a Pinto bottom end with different pistons. Head is completely different, obviously. I done a head gasket once on a Sierra Cosworth, and that was a quick car. There was a place, I forget the name of the place. There's a place in Peterborough that they'd done a lot of like tuning on Cosworths and sold a lot of bits for them. And even on the turbos, they had little nuts to hold the turbos together to the exhaust. And they were like, for about 4 of these nuts, it was about £50. And the guy was telling me once, yeah, when you're setting the timing up on these, this is ignition timing distributor. He goes, when you're setting the distributor up and timing up on these cars, you know, if you hear a bit of pinking, you better get it right because you only get a couple of chances at it or you'll trash the engine. That really put a lot of confidence in me. Luckily, the one I'd done was okay. I fit a 007 Ford Mondeo Mark IV 2 litre. Will the car go into limp mode if you lose traction control? If you lose traction, it's possible. When you say lose traction control, do you mean has it got a fault? If it's got a fault to do with the traction control, it can put it into limp mode. But if you lose traction control because you're giving it too much, then I don't think that will put it into limp mode. Other issue I have with the 2 litre Mark V diesel is that when the engine is cold and I drive downhill in a gear, manual transmission, the car errors and shuts down the power, injects power too high and too low on tester. Oh. That's not something I've come across. I'll tell you what, there's a lot of taxi drivers out there. When you say MT manual transmission, is that an auto with a manual change on it, or is it just like, is that just a standard manual transmission? The trouble with the automatic gearboxes these days, if it is auto, it's like flipping it. They can make everything you're doing so much more complicated because they're all tied in with the engine management system. Climate change is inevitable. Well, yeah. Climate change has been going on since the beginning of time. But they'd let you know that today you've probably got about 10 years left, which is what they said 10 years ago and 10 years ago and 10 years ago. So we're all still here. After restart, everything works fine and it doesn't reproduce when the engine is getting normal working temperature. That sounds a bit of a strange one then. If everything seems fine. Best thing you can really do is sort of like drive it about. Don't go on any long journeys to get a bit more confidence in it. It's sort of like you'd really want to know what went wrong in the first place. I have a 2-litre TDSI engine. Before seeing high temperatures on coolant gauge, my gauge was right at 90. That's why I was thinking that 80 was out of order. Well, if it's sitting a bit low, you'd probably think to yourself that the thermostat was staying open. It was like maybe stuck open a bit too much. You know, like the thermostat gets weak and it doesn't stay closed. It opens too early, and it's letting the coolant through your radiator too early, so it's not holding the correct temperature. It's overcooling sort of thing. So it just could be a thermostat issue. The problem with electric is if you park on street, is everyone going to run charging cables across the pavement? Yeah. Mind you can't say nothing to the climate alarmists, can you? Because they've got an answer for everything. Scott Reedman, hi Scott. I've got a 74 Mark II Capri in purple velvet. Ooh! I bet that's nice. 1974. I always liked the Capris. Never had one though. I was a Cortina. My dad had a Cortina Crusader. I can remember the reg. Yeah, I remember them. I remember the stickers on them, the Cortina Crusader as well. Yeah. Andy, the issue with the electric agenda is that not everyone will make that transition from combustion to EV. This is about pushing the poor and lower working class back into public transport. Well, yeah, that's another thing, isn't it? Not everyone's got the extra 30-odd thousand pound to buy one of these fancy electric toys, have they? So, yeah. Which is why the government are pushing it. Yeah, what trouble is, what they're going to do for all their road taxing? They're going to lose a lot of road tax because they are literally trying to force people off the road. Hello, Tomaz. Yes, fantastic. Hope you're well as well. Stella or wife beater is horrible. No, I didn't like the Stella. It's like I got halfway through a can and it's like I just didn't like the taste of it at all. Jason Lee, hi Jason. P244D and cuts out. Will only start one later. Is the DPF blocked? It might be. You'd have to plug it into the diagnostic scanner and see what's and then kind of Google what the code is. If it's DPF related on one of them, especially a 2014, have you checked the? It sounds familiar, to be honest with you, that code. I think it is something to do with DPF. It's almost. Have you checked the nozzle that goes in the exhaust downpipe that squirts the diesel into the DPF? Because if it's never been touched and you've got 100,000 miles on that car, then I'd say your nozzle's blocked. And if the nozzle's blocked and it doesn't squirt the diesel into the DPF, then your DPF will just block up. So the first thing I'd do, I'd take the nozzle out, and if it is blocked, I would replace it. Then you'd have to probably do a static regen on the car, and then hopefully everything will be back to normal. But they were a common thing. I ain't done one in a while now, but they were common. All the cars we had, they all got blocked up and gave the same problem. New Zealand don't need car insurance. Martin Nally, hi Martin. Mark 4 Mondeo 2-litre diesel. Opened the door last morning and like a smell of our sour milk. The car never had shopping in it. Thanks. 2-litre diesel. Opened the door last morning and like a smell of sour milk. I'm going to have another beer. I don't know. Is there any? Oh look! Look! Hang on a minute. Look, can you see them? Hang on. Can you see? Can you see them cars in Mondeos? Oh my god! Holy shit! That's my YouTube banner. There you go. That's a car in a bottle. See, that's a circus act. Come on. This one doesn't want to come apart. There you go. I don't know. I have no idea about the smell of sour milk. Unless you've got a water ingress in the car somewhere. That normally smells of piss though. Go before 5 p.m. Tim Collins, hi Tim. Would you review DIY garage products on YouTube? DIY garage products? It depends what they are. I'd give anything a shot. Well, almost anything. It's like, yeah. Dean, thanks for advice. It's a low mileage of 32k on clock, so imagine it's okay for a few years yet. Might see you Sunday. Okay, brilliant. Excellent. Yeah, it'd be worth popping up there just for a look around, something to do. Thing is, all these old cars like Capris and all that may well be up there. You don't often see them anymore. So it's a good opportunity. Some nice cars. Blonde man, hello. How are you doing? I'm calling in a favour for the beer I tipped you a couple of weeks ago. Do you know if the 2011 Insignia has a breakout point in the loom just to work the pointless electric handbrake? No idea. I've done a little bit on Insignias, but I've not had any handbrake issues, and I don't know. Do not know. A breakout point in the loom. No, I don't know. You'd have to connect it to a battery. What's wrong with the handbrake? Has it completely just stopped working? It depends what system it's got on it, you know. Because some like the one that I've got at the minute that's a right pain is controlled by your ABS ECU. The wires that go to the handbrake, both sides, come out of the ABS ECU straight to the handbrake. Whereas some of these cars have you've got the motor and the cables coming out the motor bolted out the back of the car. So Mark Ford Mondeo 2-litre diesel. Opened the door last morning and smell of sour milk. Could it have something to do with the aircon? It depends what you're smelling. Without smelling it, I can't really tell. But you can get some nasty smells from aircon. What I'd get is, there's different things you can get. You can get that can with the very long tube that you put down your air vents, and it blows a load of foam into your air vents. And it's supposed to go down into the heater and kill the bacteria. Or you can get these other like bomb things that you put in your passenger footwell and put your air vents on to recirculation in the car, and it will fire off its spray over so many minutes, and you'll just keep all the doors shut while it's circulating this fragrance to clear it all. I prefer the stuff you squirt down the bloody air vents myself. It's worth a try getting a can of that, because it might be bacteria in your aircon tray at the bottom of your heater. And of course, you can't get to it, so you got to squirt something down there. I was in Halfords and all the motor factories, they all sell them. Sometimes air leaks from tyre valve. Any plans to do another classic Ford video like the ST? I don't know really. It's I never planned anything to start with. it's that the actual ST, I think it's Dan. I said before, he rang me up. Must have been a year, almost a year before he brought the car down, and said he's thinking of getting this car. Would I be interested in doing it? A whole list of things he had wanted doing. And I said, yeah, no problem. But he never had the car at the time. Then he bought it, and it was sort of like months and months later, he rang up again and said, I've got the car now. Can I bring it down and just leave it with you? And I thought, well, you're leaving it with us. There's no instant rush on it. So that's the reason why we've done it. Because it's like the trouble with the taxis, you don't know what's going to go wrong from one day to the next. And it's we've got to keep the taxis on the road regardless. So anything else will get put on the back burner just to keep the cabs on the road. But because I had the ST for so long, I was able to sort of like, whenever I had free time and there wasn't much going on, I could get on it and do bits and pieces on it. So it was good. I enjoyed doing that one. But if something else comes along, if I've got the time, I'll do it. But It's fitting it in sometimes. It depends how long we've got the car for. I think you've avoided the massive elephant in the room regarding the Mark V Mondi. You have to buy a large McDonald's coffee as the cup holders knock the lids off the regular cups. You could just get a tea instead. Maybe they come in different cups. You've got to see the light. Mark Lights, good evening. Do the 2010 Mark IV Mondeo have the same high pressure fuel pump metal filings in fuel filter as in the Mark V? It's a different high pressure fuel pump completely. It's not the same, but they do go wrong. They on that car, they'll still put. It's rare, not very often. I have had one that's put a shitload of metal filings into the fuel system. The trouble is, you take this car here, 2010 Mark IV. It's probably a 2 litre. It's 2 litre, is it? TDCI. The fuel pump can still put a load of metal filings into the fuel. It doesn't just go into the fuel filter. It will go into the fuel tank. It will go into all the fuel lines. It will go into the injectors. Normally, you'll notice something's wrong because it will start running like a pig because the injectors are getting blocked up with the metal bits. If that was taken to Ford, they'd replace the entire fuel system, everything. But as I found, sort of like most people who can't afford to replace their entire fuel system will just scrap the car. You can take the fuel pipes off, blow them out. Generally speaking, in the high pressure side of things, if you replace the high pressure fuel pump, maybe have to replace the injectors, you can clean out all the fuel pipes under the bonnet, clean the fuel filter all out, and you'll get away with it. And anything else that does come from the tank with bits of metal in it will get stopped by the filter, as long as the new pump isn't putting metal back into the fuel system anymore. But yeah, they do go wrong. I had one before, but it's not the same pump as a Mark V. They look similar, but they're not. Rusker still or less. Yeah, why would you not keep it? High spec models are relatively rare in New Zealand. Most of them poverty pack with manual rear window winders. Pick apart full of them. Mine's just over 300k. What is that? Fiat or less? LEDs are cheap if you get them from Wish. I'm just trying to find another comment. Are you seriously saying that a clutch change on a Mondi 1.2 was easier? Yes, I would change a clutch on a Mark 1 or 2 Mondeo any day of the week than doing a Vectra B. I hated the Vectra B. Oh my God! It's not just that. The Vectra B had they didn't have the fine splines on the input shaft. They had bloody like dog splines. And even trying to get the flipping gearbox up and dog it on, it was like it didn't want to go on. No, I'll tell you something. On one of them Mark 1 or Mark 2 Mondeos, I would do a clutch in, if I started it at like 8:30 in the morning, I'd be done by 12 o'clock. If that was a Vectra B, I'd be done by 5 o'clock. I didn't like we didn't have the kit for them. That's the problem. We never had the cradle that sits on the top. I know if you've got the right kit for them, you can do the job, but it's not that bad. But we never had that. All we had was stands that go underneath the engine and all that, which was sort of like the wrong stuff to do the job. When I first drove an 07 Mondeo, had to phone a friend to find reverse. Is Bilstein's shock worth it compared to regular ones? I was looking up on Euro parts, or was it? If there are multiple options, I'm guessing Bilstein are filled and others are oil filled. Yeah, on Bilstein gas. Yeah. It depends what you want. If you're doing a car up, and you'd go for certain specific shock absorbers. But if it's just a regular car and you just want it working and all in good nick, then there's plenty of cheap options out there that won't break the bank. Don't I know it's. I'm a tester, been testing 17 years, and I know about the gland as asked about it when I bought my current Skoda, was shown the TPI on it, goes back to the first Mark V Golfs. Some testers are more on the take than others. I think you can disable the reverse lockout. I think I did that temporarily while I had sent the console apart. I don't know what you would need lockout in the first place. Bilstein is a fantastic make, especially coilovers, but they do a range from gas to oil shocks. Couldn't go wrong with them. Wanted to make Euro parts account. And they do this. I know Bilstein, they're like a top brand. They're not the kind of name you've never heard of. They're sort of like one of the main ones out there. Did you see Project Farm testing penetrating oil? I haven't seen that. Project Farm. No. In actual fact, the name of it, I've heard that channel, but I haven't seen it. I have seen it though, the actual name of the channel. I've not watched any of their videos. The worst thing to happen to cars was the stupid scrappage scheme. Yeah, that killed off a lot of classics, didn't it? You would have thought a lot of them cars would have gone to people who would have sort of like done something with them. Because that's the thing, isn't it? People like to see classic cars. And what good is it if they're all in the scrapyard? Aging population having to import people, Thatcher selling social housing so UK cannot afford kids. Between 07-13, dodgy Siemens injectors were fitted to all sorts of Fords, causing limp mode with no engine light, replaced with Continentals. P244D, catalyst temperature too high during regeneration. Yeah, that could well be a blocked vaporizer nozzle. Own a Ford Focus Estate, Mark II, 1.8 TDCi, 108k. Pretty sure my dual mass flywheel, noises, vibrations, is on its way out, but still drives and shifts good. How long should I keep driving it? Trouble with them flywheels. I've had them in all different kinds of states. I've had them where they just out and out rattle. It's like if you put your foot halfway down on the clutch, you can hear them rattle. Or even if the engine is just ticking over, every few seconds you'll hear this like rattle from under the bonnet. I've had other ones that have been driven so long they've just seized up, where they're not rattling at all. But they'll be like, because the flywheel's in two halves, it'll be like egg-shaped. So you can imagine, especially if you've got your bonnet up, the bonnet's like shaking like that. And you can feel it in the car. Even when you rev it, you can feel it. Something's not right. It feels like something, like something's sort of like not round, like the engine's not spinning perfectly right. A bit like a misfire. Yeah, them flywheels. I've never ever, no matter what bad condition they've been in, I've never had one like break, so you've lost drive, or it's separated and half the flywheel's come out the bell housing or something like that. So you can generally drive them for a long time until they get to the point where you just got to say, I've got to change it. I've never had anything really bad happen. They just gradually get worse and worse. So you can go on for quite a while generally. George, you need a hand to open that. Yeah. It's my cheap. I don't even know where I bought this, but it's not very good. I think it's for opening cans more than anything. It just comes with a bottle opener. Vodka guy. God, like, I tell you what, it's been years since I've had vodka. I'm either Jack Daniels or Southern Comfort. Mind you, the Southern Comfort, I've got to have ice with it. And well, the Jack Daniels, come to think of it as well. Jason, great reference when working on a 1.8 TDCi Mark IV. I haven't actually done much on them, apart from that bloody wet belt. That was one of the first ones I'd done, was the wet belt. Have you ever had Mark IV 2-litre TDCi low pitch whine in any gear? Not really. Nothing springs to mind. There again, it's like, I mean, if you've got a bearing gone, trouble is, if there's something wrong inside the gearbox, it's hard to tell. You'd have to sort of like get someone to listen to it properly. I've had bloody diff noises and all that before, but it's not something that's sort of like, if it's a common problem, I'd probably know about it. But as far as these gearboxes go, all these manual gearboxes and these Mondeos, not once have I ever had like bearing or diff failure or noises, any kind of noises like that, like a diff noise or a bearing gone. It's always been either jumping out of first or second, or a synchro buggered, so it would crunch between second and third, or third and second, something like that. But as far as noises go, bearing noises from these gearboxes? No, it's certainly not common at all. Think of your channel whenever I see a Steve's taxi go by. Well, thanks, Terry. What's that one? Monsoon. Monsoon is good car. I had that issue. Smelly socks. That's what I used. Can be in the footwell. Smelly socks. We in lockdown in New Zealand for the 3rd week now. Happen to catch a nasty cold at the same time, so I can't go out until I'm free of symptoms. Not even supermarket. I think you need a new Prime Minister as well. They've got it bad in Australia, haven't they? Melbourne and that. It's like they get one case and they sort of like go into freak mode and then all lock everything down. Got massive. I know there's massive protests going on over there. You should review some of the cars at sales. Yes. Yeah, I had to get that jagging before that went. Not that I've done much on it, but that was something a bit quirky. Yeah, I've had a quiet spell at the minute, so if something comes up and I get time, I'll certainly do something. What's a good SD220 worth these days? Oh, it's worth as much as whoever's prepared to pay for it. I'd say there's some right old dogs out there, so you've got to watch out for. If you get to sort of like pretty good ones, you could be talking $7,000 upwards, depending on the condition of them. A good one might be cheap. C5 and C6, all money pits. Well, I'll tell you what, we've halved it because it's only sort of like 18 minutes past 10 now. DX too expensive to buy. Is that DS3? Is that what it is? Oh God, where are we again? What's this one? Can I turn off the daytime running lights on a 2019 Audi A3, like remove a fuse or a relay? I should think you probably can. I should think there is a fuse for the daytime running lights. But they're supposed to be on all the time. That's the whole thing. They're part of an MOT now. Well, that is if you're in this country. All Vauxhalls after the 90s Cavaliers. Yeah, I think they've cut corners on bloody quality, that's for sure. Fishing friends. Hello. Where to you buy your Mondeo Mark IV windscreens from? Rain sensor and heated. We used to use Lador in Bedford, but now we just buy them directly from Nationwide in Stootley Meadows Business Park. It's opposite Dunelm Mill Shop, just at the top of the road. Yeah, it's a windscreen place. They're called Nationwide. We just get them from there. They all sell. Depends what quality you want. They'll sell you cheaper screens. They're pretty. I mean, they're not the best quality screens, if you know what I mean, the cheap ones, but they'll do the job. So that's all we need them to do. But they'll do whatever you need. The worst thing about scrappage was none of the parts from them could be sold. Scrap meant the melting. Yeah. Once they were there, that was it. That was the end of them. I did watch a video once of someone walking around where all these hundreds and hundreds of cars have been scrapped. This big bloody look like an old airfield sort of thing. And it's like all these bloody cars, and you would think, bloody hell, that'd be sort of like, what a waste. Because a lot of them cars were still in good condition. And there's people just getting rid of them. It's bloody horrible. Nah, that was a bad old thing. And I do love the channel and the delightful moniker. Anyway, I'm off to bed. Been a busy day MOTing. I go to sleep doing an MOT at work, let alone when I get home. In fact, I haven't done an MOT in quite a while now. I'm blessed at the minute. Mind you, old Andy's away next week. So next week I'm going to have to do a few MOTs, worse luck. I don't mind the odd MOT, but flipping heck. I couldn't do them all day, every day. Well, anyway, good night, Julian. Thanks for stopping by anyway. It's been fantastic. It's a bit quiet tonight. I was only going to sort of like go on for about an hour tonight, but you know how things drag on. By the way, is that still... Yeah. As I was saying earlier, I know I keep banging on about this, but, well, I've got to bang on about something. Last week, I connected my Canon 80D, using it as a webcam, with the battery in it. The LPE6 battery. And that last week's live stream lasted 3 hours, and I still had 2 bars left on the battery, and I didn't think the battery would last that long. It's probably because the camera's not actually recording. It's just on, basically, just transmitting the image through to the computer. But I went out from Amazon and I bought, for £23, a power adapter. And that's basically, it's got a dummy battery which fits into the camera, and you can still shut the door, and you plug it into the mains, in which means this camera can now run indefinitely for forever, as long as I don't wait. I'm sure it's not overheating. No, it feels okay. It's auto-focusing as well. But the only downside is this is all in 720p. That's nothing to do with the camera. That's StreamYard. Because I'm not a paid subscriber to StreamYard, I have to do everything in 720. If I paid for the subscription, it'd be in 1080. But I got pissed off with the bloody webcam on this thing. It was like a piece of crap. Anyway, good night, Julian. Thanks for stopping by. Used to drink a lot of Red Bull, vodka, Irish whiskey, and Guinness. Wasted a lot of money. Well, it's everything in moderation. That's the thing, isn't it? I'll tell you something though. Years ago, I used to smoke. Like, I smoked cigarettes like there was no tomorrow. I gave up smoking eventually after a 20th attempt, but I eventually did stop. And then some months later, I started buying bottles of JD. And I sort of like, if I added up in the last months of me smoking cigarettes, I would be spending about, on average, £60 a month, which was quite low to what, considering what I had been spending on smoking. But it was about 60 quid a month. I would then go out and buy a bottle of JD, and it started working out that I was spending almost the same amount on Jack Daniels. So then I thought I can't just swap bloody smoking for bloody alcohol. So I hit that on the head, and now I'll just get a box of these, sort of like 20 bottles of Beck's. Sort of they'll last me ages. They'll last me a good month easily. So I'll spend a tenner now rather than 60 quid. It's the trouble, isn't it? Don't matter what habit you got, it all starts to add up. I could have bought some nice cars with the booze. Holy crap! I'll tell you something. If you look at it that way, there's probably a lot of us could have bloody bought a house with what we spent on bloody booze and drinks and God knows what. I go for Bacardi and Coke. That's quite nice. Xmas treat. Ratio of 1 bottle to 1 can being the optimum mix. Where are we? I have 2 classic Fords, both are Capris. Whoa! One is a 2-litre S. The other 2.8 injection special. And for some reason, I also have an MGZR 105. Bloody hell. Well, that's nice. Not the MGZR, the 2 Capris, that is. No, they are lovely. I take it they're in mint condition. Tyres wearing the edges, pressure too low. Yeah, if you've got both edges, that's a good point, Steve. If you've got both inner and outer edges wearing more than the middle, the tyre pressures are too low. If it's the middle of the tyre wearing and the edges aren't wearing, then they're pumped up too much. They're overpressured. Yeah, this tracking business is technical. Is ST220 suspension lower? If so, by how much? Never looked into it. I would have thought it would be. I would have definitely thought they'd definitely had lower coil springs, and probably stronger ones at that. Stiffened springs. Tim Collins, thanks Tim. Have a good night. I think we're getting close to wrapping this one up now. Citron spam. No. Bring anything up. Anything's interesting. It doesn't have to be about Fords. You can talk about anything. Don't care. Paul, how much of a pig is it to replace a clutch in a 2014 Audi A4 2-litre diesel. Don't know. It's not one I've done. The only thing I don't like about bloody Audis is the drive shaft bolts, where they're bolted, where the drive shafts bolt onto the gearbox. But no, it's the same as everything. It's what might look difficult generally isn't really that difficult. It's a case of if you've done it once, then you know if you know how to do it, then it's not that much of a problem. It's like today, for the first time, I had to take a gearbox out of a 2017 Transit Custom. I've done them on the Mark 6 Transits, and this one is pretty similar, but I thought, I've not done it before, one of these newer ones, and I thought, is it going to be more difficult? And to be honest with you, it was pretty straightforward. I'll tell you what I do though. If anybody has to remove a gearbox on a Transit Custom, like a 16 plate onwards or something like that, you don't have to take the subframe off, because it's like a half a subframe at the back of the gearbox. You don't have to take it off. You can literally get a scissor jack, and you put the scissor jack onto the subframe and the engine sump, and you wind and you basically push the engine forward, and that will push the whole gearbox forward enough to clear the subframe, and then you can just lift it out on a stand. Boom. It will save you a shed load of time taking that bloody god awful subframe off. Recently replaced my turbo on a Mark II Focus 1.8 TDCi. It's making a slight screeching and glugging noise when it kicks in. Baffled by it. What could it be? I've had, I don't know if it's the same noise, but on them engines, we had quite a few of them where the turbo joins onto the exhaust down the back there somewhere. I can't remember exactly what joint it is, but there's a little thin tin gasket, and if they leaked a bit, they would really like give it a weird like whistly noise coming off them, leaking noise. They sounded a bit strange, and it was just a tin gasket, but you have to actually get your head down there and get someone to rev it so you can sort of like hear it. And they're a little bit of a chore to get to fix and replace. But that's what it all it might actually be. Scrappage in an airfield in Essex. I can't. The one I saw was on a YouTube video. I can't exactly remember where it was. I didn't actually take any notice of where it was. But it was a great big like open airfield I saw. Monday, oh man. It's been fun. I'm flouting now. It's been a bloody hard 2 days at work. I can't get back into it. You know when you've had time off work, and it's like the first day back is the worst. You sort of like forget what work is. So are we going to have live stream all night long? Well, how long has this been going on for? 2.5 hours so far. Well, last week was over 3 hours. Let me see. I think we're nearly at the end of it. Big Clive uses his mobile phone for streaming. Do you know what? I didn't know you could. I didn't know you can be the host and use a phone to stream. I'll have to look into that one, because if that's the case, then you can basically go for a walk through the high street while you're streaming. That'd be better. You can go for walks. I'll check it out. 1.5 litre of vodka, and it will last me 3 days. Bloody hell. Yeah, I'll go steady there. Bloody hell, that knocked me out. Can you please add the air show link to the description? It's a mix of full size and models. Right. The one I've put in the description is just the 2 jets. So the other one, I'll put, yeah. So after this live stream, I'll stick that other link down there as well. Got it. Brian, good night. Thanks for stopping by. Have a good one. Scrappage Airfield was Upper Hayford. Well, there you go. Steve knows. You're a wealth of information, Steve. This is why I love your channel. You always learn. Yes, you always learn something new. I've been retired for 12 years. I want to retire straight away, please. But I can't. Got to keep working. Oh, I think we're at the end of the stream. What's the worst garage bodge you've ever seen? I remember my old service manager inspecting a cam belt we were paid to change and writing 120,000 on the cover. We didn't change the belt, but build it. I'll tell you what I'd done once, which was a bit of a crook. And this was going back many years ago. There was a guy brought a Fiesta to me. Yeah, overhead valve engine, and he said it was misfiring, and he goes, yeah, can you fix it? And I done a compression test, and there was no compression in number 4 cylinder. And I said, you've got a valve burnt out, so he's going to have the cylinder head off and replace the burnt out valve, because this is in the days of 4-star petrol still. And so I said, that's going to cost you like, yeah, I don't know, it was £100 or £150, something like that. And he goes, okay. So when I took the rocker cover off, of course, all that was wrong with it was the actual rocker shaft had snapped. It had literally snapped to number 4 cylinder. So I went up the scrapyard, got another rocker shaft, put that on, adjusted the tappets, and it was right as rain. And I still building for the head gasket. I felt well bad, but fuck it. I'm not a crook anymore, but it's like sometimes these things come along. Yeah, I actually even remember I took the car down to the petrol station and jet washed the engine to make it look like it was all nice and shiny and had the work done to it when it hadn't. So yeah, I've done some dodgy shit. That was one of them. But there again, he still got his car fixed. Many Eastern Europe's friend helped with my vodka addiction. You could do a live stream at Ford Meet on your phone. I won't be able to. I won't be able to. Because I've only got 2 hands. I'm gonna take my camera up there. I'm gonna run around TC Harrison with my camera, and I'm gonna try and get, because I've got the 90D with the slow mo and all that shit on it. So I'm gonna try and get some nice shots of the cars so I can put them on YouTube. But if I was doing a live stream, that'd be a good idea. Yeah. But because I'm going to be stuck with my camera and gimbal in my hand, I'm not going to be able to do it it'd be too much. Too many things going on at the same time. So enjoyed interacting with yourself, and well, thank you, Mark. It's great to know you. I'll try and do this every Wednesday. So I don't know. I guess it's something a bit different. Just tune in for 5 minutes, and the trouble is, I don't really watch that many. I have my set like channels I'll watch on YouTube, but I don't actually go on really many live streams. It's just like basic videos. But I guess when you get sort of like to get to know people, when you get into other people's live streams and whatever they're talking about, it's like you, Steve. You go onto Big Clive Live, and he's got a lot of followers. And I mean, his live streams are bloody interesting. I've watched a few of them now, and it's like it's good fun. Just sit back and enjoy the show. I could write a book on garage bodges. You should do. In fact, you're giving me ideas now. I should make a flipping list of all the shit that's gone down over the years and reel it out, as long as it doesn't drop no one in the crap. But yeah, it's interesting to hear all these certain things that go on. To be old school, I know the days, yeah. Bodge my Mark III came with a brake hose replaced with a turn of solid tube. Discovered when the brake cracked and started leaking. I'll tell you what. You wouldn't believe the half of what goes on sometimes. Sometimes you've actually got to see this crap to believe it. What's your views on a good old Peugeot? I'll tell you what, but be honest with you, as far as Peugeots go, I always saw them as the bodies on them cars were like that galvanized metal, weren't they? They were good bodies that didn't seem to rust. It was just that everything that was bolted to them didn't last too well. But they were, I don't know, most Peugeots, I mean, apart from oil leaks, I think a lot of Peugeots suffered with oil leaks, but they weren't bad cars. And it just shows who's won anyway, because it's Peugeot engines that seem to have found their way into just about everything else. So they're very clever at Peugeot, very clever indeed. How's Miss Monica? I actually saw her today for the first time in like 2 weeks. She's doing absolutely great, doing all right. Night all, great chat. Thanks for amusing chat. Thank you, Emmy. Hope to see you next week, and thanks for stopping by. See, everybody's going off to bed now, so shall I in a minute. Didn't TC Harrison have the unregistered Mark V Cortina in their showroom? Is that the TC Harrison in Peterborough? Because if it is Peterborough, I wouldn't have seen it. I haven't been to the Peterborough branch for bloody years. That's another reason why I'm going up there. I know it's a big old site. I don't go on live streams, but I've enjoyed yours since I started. Yeah, it's the same with me. I don't tend to go on live stream. I've been on a few in the past, but not many. And even if I do, I don't really get involved in them. There is a guy I do watch occasionally who does. I mean, this guy, he'll do live streams like 8 hours long. And one of them, I did go on it and say hello. And he said hello back. I thought, oh, thanks. I'm hoping to do a Ford fair next year. I do love a Ford. Would be nice to see the TC Harrison meet, but I would love to go to Fort Dagenham to see the heritage for. Yeah, that'd be nice. Well, don't worry. You'll see you'll see the TC Harrison one anyway, because I'm going to wave the camera around when I go up there. So I'm sure we'll have a little bit of footage when we come back. I'll put it on my channel. That'll be my next video that's coming out, because the one I'm doing on the brakes is going to be flipping another week in the making. Fiberglass in the sills. Yeah. Oh yes. Tube cracked near left. I've had 3 pugs and all been a disaster, from head gaskets to diesel injectors. Yeah, they can't all be winners, can they? So some people will swear by them. This is the thing. Some people will get a car and they'll never have a problem with it. See ya. Thanks for stopping by, Rusk Steel. See you next week. Have a good evening. Christy YT2007. Hi. Hello there. You've just caught the tail end of this live stream. My bloody I'm about to fall asleep. Tube cracked near Leicester. 150 miles and a bottle of brake fluid from home. Well, you've still got a handbrake to get you home, haven't you? We had a diesel Safira in with an engine that the AA said was knackered. We billed her for a new lump, but it turned out that she put petrol in it by mistake. Yeah, right. That sounds about right. I had a car come in once. It was a Metro, and the mum had told the daughter to fill the engine with water, and that's what she did. She filled the engine to the brim of the rocker cover with water. The funny thing is, when they drained it out, it still ran. It was all right. Trump 2024. Yes. Hell yeah. Because you've got a bunch of Marxists in the White House at the minute. No matter what they do, they are literally trying to destroy America. They are trying to change the demographics of the country forever. And there just seems to be no accountability for anything they do. It's just mind-boggling. We experimented with us live streaming to our customers. Guess who forgot to log out before going? Yeah, you've got to. That's the trouble. You can forget you're actually doing a live stream, and if you get too comfortable, and then forget all about it. That's when you say things you shouldn't say, and then you see, oh shit, the camera was still running. You know what? Some of the best moments that ever happen are ones when people don't even know the camera is rolling. I have problems with all my cars. Even my 2021 Focus has been back to the dealer 5 times. Oh, blimey. That's not good. Is the 1.8 TDCi engine quite a noisy, rattly engine by default? It used to be. Can also hear squeaking on startup until I start driving, then noise goes away, despite replacing all pulleys and water pump. You know they've got them bloody stupid. You know you've got the alternator, which is the right shit of a position, and you've got the shaft. You've got the shaft that goes from the alternator to the pulleys. It's like a shaft with a big rubber like bush in it, and the rubber bush breaks up, and if that breaks up, then the alternator stops turning. I'll check that. It's sort of like you've got the pulleys down here, and then the shaft goes in along the front of the engine at the bottom to the alternator. Yeah, I'll take a look at that. NB, thanks for all the help tonight with my 1.8 TDC. Well, thank you, NB. Thanks for stopping by. See you next time. Graham, I bled my brakes once and asked the missus to press the brake, and she kept pressing the clutch. You know, that just reminds me of something. There's a number of women now. They always seem to be women. I'm sorry, women, but this seems to be a woman thing. They say my throttle pedal is jammed, when in actual fact, it's the flipping. It's the throttle pedal getting stuck on the carpet mat. I had to go out for like 30-mile trip to get to this car just to remove the mat from underneath the pedal. And even my own sister, bless her, it was either a clutch pedal or a throttle pedal. But it turned out she had, when she went and had a look, it was rocks, because she does a lot of walking with dogs and stuff and gets stones and rocks in the footwell. And one of the rocks had got jammed under the throttle pedal or something. We'll be at WW3 by World War III by 2024. I don't know. We might be living under communist China, the CCP. We're not far off that now. Agent Beans, was it? What is it? Homies. The squeaking could be the aircon. Yes, that's a possibility. You've got the clutch bit on the end of the aircon pump. They can make all kinds of noises when they get worn. Any idea what Steve's taxis will end up replacing the Mondeos? I think Steve's taxis are going to be wrapping up shortly anyway. I'm not too sure. When I find out exactly what's going on, I'll let you know. But I should think they'll be going to Toyota hybrids, if anything. They'll be leasing them. That's my guess. I'm not 100% sure on that in a minute. Andy. Good night, Andy. Thanks for stopping by. You made my shift entertaining. Nice of you to stop by anyway. Hope to see you in the next one. Is the Volkswagen Passat B6 engine a nightmare to work on? It probably is. They're not the easiest of things to work on. The 1.8 in the Mark 1 would go on forever. Only the water pump would give up. The 1.8 in the Mark 1. That's the one where they had the timing belt that would last 36,000 miles and you had to change it. I think it is, yeah. Yeah, that engine's been around since like Noah's Ark. But they're good engines. Can't really knock them. Had an apprentice on his first week fill an engine of coolant. I told him to fill the coolant to the top of the radiator cap and went on a 15-minute break. Left him to it. I think he thought oil cap. Daniel, do you ever get sick of working on those Mondeos? You might forget how to fix anything else soon. Yeah, I do sometimes. So sometimes it's just nice when something different comes in, something interesting comes in. Yeah. Fill the engine with 20 litres of coolant. He used 4 flipping holes. A friend prepared her Mini for the MOT by only fitting new mats. If you had a superpower, would you fart on command or have laser nipples? I'd have laser nipples. Oh, well, I wouldn't want to stink. If we ever need an alien invasion, now would be the time. They're already here. The aliens are already here. They're in the bloody White House. His name's Joe Biden. He even looks like a flipping alien. Yeah, he has his wife to change his nappy for him anyway, doesn't he? Musket Hawking Falconry. I haven't heard of this one. Hello, how are you? Transit Connect 2010, 1.8 ESP malfunction. 4 scans saying ABS pump. Do you think this is right? It could well be. I'll tell you what you want to do. Go on Google and go on to ECU tested. Type in ECU testing, and on their website they have all the different ABS pumps and ECUs for that vehicle. And if you're able to get the numbers off your pump and match it up with the pump they're listing on their website, they will list out the common faults with them pumps. For instance, Vauxhall Corsas, they are very, very common for the passenger front wheel having no fluid going to it. So you've got no braking on the passenger front. And that's an ABS pump fault. So your car might have a fault that's they're showing on their website. But yeah, we have lots of ABS pumps that pack up, either the ECUs or the mechanical part of the pump. A lot of these pumps have common faults anyway. But the one thing with all these pumps, they're an ECU and a pump together in one piece. So if in doubt, you can unbolt the whole pump, send it away to these places, these ECU testing and or AC Tronics. They'll test it. If they can't find fault with it, they'll send it back, and all you've got to pay for is package and posting. If they find fault with it, they'll either fix it for you or send you a new one. Yeah, they do go wrong quite a bit. Just got home from work, got a beer now. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what though. I bet your beer hasn't got a car in it. Look at that. See that? Look at that. My bottle has got writing in it. See? If I go down a bit, look. My bottle of beer has got Mondeos in it. There you go. That's a green bottle. It's having some kind of funny effect on whatever's going on in here. I don't know. The 1.9 TDI diesel in the Passat is a great engine and very easy to work on. The early 2 litre had problems with oil pumps. Pepsi or Coke? It used to be Pepsi, but now it's Coke. I'm quite surprised Steve's Taxi is going Toyota. The Focus estate is quite... It's not that simple. It's not a case of the boss is going out to buy new cars. I think in a little while, when I find out exactly what's going on, I'll let you know. My Mark 1 odometer was stuck when I got it. Only changed the oil once in 5 years. No idea what the total mileage was. On a serious note, I was thinking of buying a Carly OBD with all the software. Do you think I've never used them. Not used it, so I don't really know. The best thing I can suggest is whatever you're looking at is find as much information as you can in it from anywhere you can, usually on the internet. But if you get enough people talking about good things about it, then it must be reasonably good. Because these days, if something's crap, people will be telling you that it's crap. But like I say, it's just a case of spending the time. That's the problem. You might have to spend hours and hours sifting through different forums and reviews and God knows what. But you know, if you get enough positive things said about it, then you'll have half a chance that it will be reasonably pretty good. Any car that uses an engine to charge the battery should not count as eco-friendly. I think we're at the end. Musket, thank you, Musket. Thanks for stopping by. We're at the end of the stream. Blonde man, you're the last man standing. Look for a used Solus. That's a Solus Ultra. That's it. We're done. There's no more. Well, thanks. Thanks, 087 Mail. Got a Delphi download in VCI on AliExpress. Cheap money diagnostic. There you go. Lee Rickman. See you, Lee. Thanks for stopping by. I've been looking, but they're all BMW. I've seen a couple of YouTube reviews and then fantastic stream. Thank you, Mark. I'm going to sign out now because I'm, what's the time? It's 11 o'clock. Holy crap. I tell you what, that's 3 hours and 2 minutes. Exactly the same time as last week. Thank you, blonde man. Thank you. Chris, see you next week. Chris, thank you very much for stopping by. Look at all these comments. Stop putting comments in. Everybody stop typing. Had a Mark III Mondeo in today and sounded awful when you turned the wheel. Power steering pump. It might be the wrong fluid in it or something. Or bad fluid in the reservoir. Good night, all. See you. See you next week. I'll catch you next time. Off 2 weeks later. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. See you, Can. Thanks a lot. Fortunately, you do not have the same numbers as Clive. No, it's just as bloody well. If I had his numbers, I wouldn't even mind. I'd just be seeing a blur. All the comments would be going. Thank you, Hayden. See you next week. That's it. We're done. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to end the live stream. Thanks to everybody who stopped by. It's been great. I haven't quite got through 2 beers, but I'll finish that later. Once again, if anybody wants to go to the TC Harrison car show on Sunday, Oxney Road, Peterborough, between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., it's probably worth popping in and having a look. There's probably some very nice cars up there. Anyway, thanks, everybody, and I'll see you in the next one. I'm going to press the big red end broadcast button now. So until next time, guys, thanks, everybody. See ya.